A married woman works as a successful lawyer, but after her stepson arrives, she loses her head and their relationship, and it ends hello. Everybody, you're bald in this clip. I'm going to tell you about the plot of a romantic fiction of a movie with erotic content. Queen of Hearts, we see a woman named Anna is a successful attorney and is happily married to Peter. They have two twin daughters. She's Peter's second wife. His first wife's name was Rebekah. They're divorced. They have a son together named Gustav. Peter invites the priest to stay at his house, and Gustav happily comes to visit his father and his new family. Peter loves Gustav very much. You can see it in the way he looks at his son. Peter brings Gustav into the house and introduces him to his wife. They met. Sharp gave him a keychain. Peter is pleased with the arrival of his son, but Gustav doesn't say a word. He's very angry at her. So, what do you think? That she's taken his father out of the family. The next morning, she comes in for a manicure at her sister's house. Tells her about coming in last night. Dense. On her way home, she bumps a keychain on the tile, a keychain that was given to Gustav yesterday. Her daughter gave to Gustav. When she gets home, she hears an argument breaking out between Peter and Gustav. Her son, by his behavior, to show that you don't want to live with your father, and they leave the house. Peter Therese's wife with her own worrying about her son for something she thinks Gustav just needs some time to get used to his new family. When they get home from work, they find the glass in the door of the house. Going through the house, the woman sees signs of theft all over the house. She's shocked by the situation and reports the theft to the police. She reports the theft to the police the next day. She finds a pair of jeans, a thick keychain she found outside. She waits for her stepson and asks him about the keychain. About the keychain theft, she suspects him of stealing the items and threatens the police, which Gustav confesses to making a mistake and apologizes for his behavior. She gives him an ultimatum: or he'll either stays with the family and starts behaving normally, or she report him to the police for firing squad and he's sent to boarding school. Gustav he starts to socialize with his stepsisters, and the parents are happy to see them. One evening, Gustav brings his girlfriend home and introduces her to me. Then they go to a room where the couple indulge in adolescent lovemaking, and the sounds of their passion earns Anna's soul, causing the woman slight discomfort. Oh, well, that bothers her. She looks at herself in the mirror. The next day, she takes her family to the lake where Gustav, her daughters, are swimming together, and she notices that she's sitting with Gustav in the evening. Sana sits together on the couch and they have a cocktail, and she admits that she likes his tattoo on his arms, and she scrutinizes it. The next morning, Peter has a meeting with his friends and doesn't pay enough attention to his wife. She's left alone and bored, and Gustav notices and offers to keep her company at the local bar. We have a drink at the bar. She decides to interrupt the conversation with a kiss, after which Gustav between pizzas, and leaves the woman after a case. She still can't get the young man out of her head at night. The woman can't sleep. She decides to go to her stepson's room and get on the bed. The woman decides to get close to him. After this incident, they don't stop when they're alone. She and the division is quite common. Peter likes that his son has joined the family and feels he's happy. The poor guy doesn't even realize what his son is doing to his behind his wife's back when he's alone with her. Gustav asks personal questions. They're recording the answers on a tape recorder. It's the twins' birthday today. Are celebrating at home with their loved ones. When she steps away from the party, Gustav sneaks up and kisses them, and their kiss. Elena notices, and she freaks out and thinks that her sister is going to tell her about what she saw, but she's keeping quiet. She's starting to careful to ignore Gustav, which really doesn't like the guy. This one decides in the middle of the party to climb to the top of a tree, but fails to step in and falls down from a considerable height, startling of the people around him as he falls. Starts pretending to be in a lot of pain. In pain, his father tries to help him, but Gustav just laughed and said it was a prank behavior on his son's part that threw him off. Peter was off balance and he got mad at his son. Later, she and Gustav meet alone in the woods, decides to end their affair because the woman thinks it's wrong. Sooner or later, people around them will find out, which jeopardized the integrity of her coming home from a jog, and he bumps into Gustav and Peter standing outside the house. Peter, fixing his lawnmower. The father suggests to his son that he go camping in camping area, to which the son gladly agrees. Gladly agrees when the boy goes into the house to tell him that they've been making calls and Delena, but the man doesn't tell her about the conversation. She starts to think her sister's been talking too much, and she decides to go to Elena's house to ask her in person. She confesses that she broke up with Gustav, but she didn't have the courage to tell her husband. To her husband, Lena gets angry at the woman and agrees not to tell him the truth. It's been a couple of days. Only grows stronger. Gustav's sweat. Peter comes back from camping at dinner, confesses to them that he knows she's having an affair with Gustav. Turns out he didn't find out about it from Lena, from the boy himself while they were camping. There's a scandal between the couple, which she blames on the boy. Blames the boy for everything. The boy over there wants to split them up to bring the Petrovs back to the family of the morning is confused. He doesn't know what the right thing to do is with you. Decides to leave home because she can't find confidence in herself about her husband. She tells her that the beautiful domains are actually Gustav actually did, and she's trying her best in her father's eyes. She enters the room. Thickly, you find a tape recorder with cassette tapes. Takes the evidence, busts the questions. No, and the next day the three of them decide to discuss the situation. Gustav is in charge of the faces. Let's go. Her own father doubts her before leaving the house. The boy can't hold back and spits in her face. The unfaithful woman. Gustav leaves home and he is placed in a boarding school for children. A couple of days later, Peter meets with the son and discusses the day they said goodbye. She comes to the school to see Gustav, where the boyfriend gives her an ultimatum to either she confesses to her husband about the affair and he either sues her for sexual harassment. She's an experienced lawyer, parries the attack and says there's no way she can't prove it. The boy is desperate, crying. Time passes. The family is celebrating Christmas at night when Peter falls asleep. A thick man comes to the house. She comes out to see them. He talks to the boy, admits he wants to talk to his father, but she's adamantly opposed to their meeting and she won't let him enter the house. Sits down on the pavement and gets sad and starts crying despite the guy's tears. Leave him like that. Home after a while, she celebrates her birthday party where her friends and Elena. During the party, Peter gets a call. Rebekah's ex-wife and tells him that Gustav hasn't been to school since last Christmas and no one knows where he is, but the man thinks it's just another one of Gustav's jokes. Gustav and doesn't take the news. She gets serious when she hears the news. You think that if the police start looking, Gustav will definitely come to her because she's seen him for the last time, and the woman, she's very concerned because she doesn't want for her husband to know the truth. Comes home in a sad state. She asks what happened and her husband. I tell him that the police found Gustav's breathless body. He's gone. In this world. Turns out that Christmas night, Gustav went to their place under the bridge where he and his father were talking, and on that particular day, there was a heavy snowfall and the boy didn't wait for his father and he froze to death. This horrible truth, she starts crying with Peter and tries to sympathize with him. But Peter gets angry, shuts her up and blames the woman for her of wanting to keep Gustav away from her family. The next day she tells Peter their daughters are going to the funeral and sadly of the famous Gustav.